Okay, let's be honest for a second. Who doesn't want a little extra cash sometimes, right? I mean, who couldn't use a little more cushion in their bank account, and ideally without, like, working themselves to the bone.
That's right.
So today we're diving into this idea of side hustles, but not just any side hustles. We're talking about the easy kind, because everybody wants easy money.
Right. Yeah, who doesn't?
Exactly. And there are tons of people out there exploring all these different ways to earn extra income, and it seems like more and more people are doing that these days.
It's true. The gig economy is booming, and I think a lot of that has to do with, people wanting more flexibility and control over their work life.
Totally. And that's actually what got me so interested in this article we're looking at today. 35 easy side hustles for 2024.
Oh.
Sounds promising, right? So we're going to see if it lives up to the hype and, dig into some of the more interesting opportunities it lays out, because there are definitely some good ones in here.
Well, easy is definitely a subjective term, right?
Oh, absolutely.
What one person finds effortless, another person might think is a total nightmare. It all depends on you.
So true. In fact, the article even acknowledges that. Like, what's easy for someone who's super organized and loves details might be torture for someone who's more, free-spirited.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to choose a side hustle that actually aligns with your existing skills and interests, right?
100%.
If you're already good at something or you actually enjoy doing it, it's not really going to feel like work, and you're way more likely to stick with it.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Some of these ideas in this article are, I gotta admit, a little bit out there. Like when I first saw flipping mattress returns, I literally thought, wait, what?
Yeah, that's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think side hustle, right? Like, what does that even mean?
Exactly. So basically, the article talks about this company called Sharetown, where what you do is you pick up return mattresses, you clean them up, and then you resell them.
Okay.
And apparently some people were making pretty good money doing it, like, we're talking $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
Really?
Yeah, which is pretty wild. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it, because more and more people are buying stuff online these days, which means more returns. And that creates a whole market for reselling.
Right. It does. I mean, we've all seen it. Like, thrifting and reselling have become so popular lately, and it's not just about clothes anymore. It's like furniture, electronics, you name it. There's a whole culture around finding those hidden gems and flipping them for a profit.
Yeah, and this is sort of like the mattress version of that.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, though, what other returned items could have resale potential, right?
Totally. That's a really good point. It's about kind of like looking at the world a little differently and seeing those opportunities that other people might miss. The one thing I do wonder about, though, with this whole mattress thing is the logistics of it all. Like, where do you even store a bunch of mattresses?
That's true.
And how do you even transport them?
Right, you'd need a truck or a van or something. Yeah, that's something to think about. Although I do remember the article mentioned that with this Sharetown thing, they only charge you for the mattress after it sells.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you're not stuck with a garage full of mattresses if they don't sell.
Okay, that's good. That totally takes some of the risks out of it. I don't know, though. I'm not sure I'm cut out for the mattress flipping life.
Yeah, I hear you. It's not for everyone.
It seems like a lot of heavy lifting. Maybe something a little bit more, I don't know, active.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, this article also talks about this guy who turned, get this, parking lot cleanup into a multi-six-figure business.
Wait, what? Parking lot cleanup?
Yep. Are you serious?
No way. Tell me more about this.
I know. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So apparently his name is Brian Winch, and he basically just saw a need because parking lots, they're always full of trash and, debris.
For sure.
And he was like, you know what? I bet businesses would pay to have somebody take care of that. And he was right.
Wow.
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it, because it's something that nobody really wants to do themselves.
Totally.
But it has to be done.
Yeah.
And it can be pretty lucrative if you can build up a client base.
That's amazing. And it kind of reminds me of a time I was at a farmer's market.
Okay.
And they had all these amazing looking fruits and vegetables.
Right.
But no one was selling fresh squeezed juice.
Oh, well, yeah.
I was like, hello, missed opportunity. People love fresh juice, especially on a hot day at the market.
It's true. I mean, who doesn't love a good fresh juice?
Exactly. And it just goes to show you that sometimes the best ideas are right there in front of us.
Totally. It's about, like you said, looking at things a little differently. And speaking of looking at things differently,
Yeah.
this article also mentioned something called a mobile notary loan signing agent.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this?
I have, actually. My aunt does this. It can be a really great side hustle, especially if you're good with people and you don't mind driving around.
So it basically involves going to people's homes or businesses to notarize loan documents and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
And the article was saying that some people are making like thousands a month doing this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think my aunt said she makes at least a couple thousand extra every month and sometimes even more. But the key is to really learn the ins and outs of your state's specific requirements because it can vary quite a bit from place to place.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, like, for example, she had to get certified by the state, and there's a whole process for that.
Right. So it's not like you can just wake up one day and be like, I'm a mobile notary loan signing agent.
Exactly. It does take a little bit of work up front, but once you're all set up, it can be really lucrative. And you get to set your own hours, which is a huge plus.
That's awesome. And I imagine there's a lot of demand for it too, right?
Yeah, definitely. People are always buying and selling houses, refinancing, starting businesses. All of that stuff often requires a notary.
That's a good point. So we've gone from flipping mattresses to cleaning parking lots to notarizing documents.
Laughing. It's quite the range of options.
Right. It's amazing what people are coming up with these days.
I know. It seems like the possibilities are endless.
They really do. But this article, while it definitely gives us a lot to think about, it really just scratches the surface, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
It's a great jumping off point, though.
exactly. Because it's not just about these specific side hustles themselves, but more about kind of like
Yeah,
opening your mind to the different possibilities.
exactly. And realizing that you don't necessarily need a ton of money or a fancy degree to start a successful side hustle.
That's what I found so inspiring about this whole deep dive.
Me too.
It's kind of like, empowering in a way.
Totally. It's about taking control of your income and creating something for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to think outside the box a little bit.
Exactly.
So for our listeners who are hearing all of this and they're thinking, okay, this is great, but where do I even begin?
Right.
Like, it can feel overwhelming. There's so many possibilities out there. It's kind of like, where do you even start?
It's true. It can definitely feel overwhelming at first. Like you said, there are just endless options these days.
Yeah.
But I think that's where a little structure can be really helpful.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And the good news is this article actually gives some pretty practical advice on that. Like it recommends checking out platforms like Flexjobs. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I've heard of Flexjobs. I think it's mostly like remote work and stuff, right?
Exactly. It's all about flexible schedules and working from home. So if that's something you're interested in, it's definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's always LinkedIn, which is kind of like the go-to for any kind of professional networking these days.
Yeah.
And they have a whole section for freelance gigs and part-time jobs. And even Craigslist, believe it or not, can still be a good resource.
Oh, wow. Craigslist. I haven't looked at Craigslist in ages.
I know, right? It's kind of old school, but you can actually find some hidden gems on there.
It's something you mentioned networking, though, because I feel like sometimes we forget about the power of just like talking to people.
Oh, absolutely.
Like letting your friends and family know that you're looking for something
Yeah.
and you never know who they might know or what kind of leads they might have.
Exactly. It's amazing how often just putting the word out there can open doors you didn't even know existed. And don't forget about those local community boards or online groups, too.
All right, like Facebook groups or Nextdoor or whatever it might be.
Exactly. There are groups for everything these days. So say you're really into photography, for example.
Right.
You could join a local photography group or an online community and connect with people who might need headshots or want to hire a photographer for events.
Right, yeah, and those are the kinds of things you would never even think to look for on like a big job site.
Exactly. And it's not just about finding those opportunities, it's also about connecting with other people who share your interests and who can offer support and advice.
That's such a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in the whole like online job searching thing that we forget about the importance of building real connections.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, people like to work with people they know and trust.
So true. Okay, so it sounds like the key takeaway here is that finding the right side hustle is about more than just browsing job boards. It's about being proactive, tapping into your network, and kind of like
Yeah.
thinking outside the traditional box.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to remember that a successful side hustle isn't just about the money.
Right. That's a really good point.
It should also be something that you actually enjoy doing something that adds value to your life in some way.
Absolutely. Because what's the point of having a side hustle if it's just going to make you miserable?
Exactly. Life's too short for that.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired after this deep dive.
Me too. It's amazing what people are achieving these days.
It really is. So for our listeners who are ready to take action and start exploring their own side hustle superpowers, where would you suggest they begin?
I would say start by just taking a few minutes to jot down your skills and interests, even the ones that seem kind of random or insignificant. You never
Right.
know what might spark an idea for a great side hustle.
That's such good advice. And remember, even if you don't have everything figured out right away, just starting to explore those possibilities, that's a huge step.
It really is.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought. What one skill or asset do you already possess that with a little ingenuity could be your side hustle superpower? We'd love to hear your ideas. Until next time, happy hustling.